She belittled me in front of my boss at a company dinner. I laughed it off. The next morning I left a note. I may not be smart, but I'm smart enough to leave. I moved out while she was at work. I, 31 male, have been with Veronica, 29, for 3.5 years, living together for 2. Last Friday was my company's quarterly dinner. Fancy restaurant, important clients, the whole deal. My boss specifically asked me to bring Veronica because she makes such a good impression. Should have seen that red flag waving. The evening started fine. Veronica looks stunning, charmed everyone as usual. She's got that ability to work a room that I've always admired. Then we sat down for dinner, and my boss, Jerome, started talking about the Patterson project I'd been leading. Your boyfriend here saved our bacon, Jerome told Veronica. That solutions framework he developed? Brilliant. Client signed a 3-year extension because of it. Veronica laughed. That specific laugh. The one that sounds warm but has edges. Oh, Jerome, you're too kind. I'm sure it was a team effort. Besides, I basically had to walk him through the whole thing at home. You know how he is with complex concepts. The table went quiet. Jerome looked confused. She kept going. I mean, bless his heart. He tries so hard. I usually have to explain things 3 or 4 times before he gets it. But that's what partners do, right? We compensate for each other's limitations. My colleague Maria tried to change the subject, but Veronica was on a roll. Like last week, he couldn't even figure out how to update his LinkedIn properly. I had to do it for him. Sometimes I feel more like a tutor than a girlfriend, you know? She patted my hand like I was a slow child. I laughed. What else could I do? Guess I'm lucky to have such a patient teacher. The rest of the dinner was painful. Veronica kept dropping little comments, how she had to check his work emails for typos, how I wouldn't survive without her organizational skills, how she basically co-wrote my presentations. All lies. But calling her out would have made a scene. So I smiled and let her dig her grave. The drive home was quiet. She seemed pleased with herself. I think that went well, she said. Jerome really seemed to respect that I'm so involved in your career. Definitely memorable, I agreed. She went to bed happy. I stayed up planning. See, what Veronica didn't know was that her whole facade was built on my infrastructure. Her successful freelance consulting business, run through my home office. Her impressive client roster, built on connections I made and introduced her to. Her professional website, hosted on my server that I maintained. Saturday morning, she left for her yoga class at 9 a.m. By 9:15, I was packing. By noon, I'd moved everything I owned to my buddy Terrence's place. He had a spare room and had been offering it for months. Dude, she treats you like dirt, he'd said after meeting her. Smart man. Left a note on the kitchen counter. V, I may not be smart, but I'm smart enough to leave. Your keys are on the counter. The lease is in your name alone. Thank God for your insistence on that. Best of luck with everything, the idiot. Then I did the technical stuff, changed all my passwords, removed her access to my home office setup, canceled my credit card, she was an authorized user, updated my mailing address, took my router and my printer that she'd been using for her business. Didn't touch anything of hers, just took what was mine. Phone started blowing up around 2 p.m., 27 calls, 43 texts. Started with confusion, escalated to rage. Where are you? This isn't funny, we need to talk. You can't just leave. I was trying to help your image. You're so ungrateful. How am I supposed to run my business without the printer? That last one made me smile. Blocked her number Saturday night. Figured that was that. Narrator, it was not, in fact, that. Monday at work was interesting. Jerome pulled me aside first thing. Hey, about Friday night? Sir, I apologize if that was uncomfortable. Uncomfortable? I was furious. Who does she think she is? You developed that framework solo. I watched you do it. Hell, you explained it to me 3 times before I understood it. Turns out, nobody bought Veronica's performance. They saw right through it. Tuesday, got an email to my work address. Subject line, urgent, business emergency. She discovered what happened when I took my equipment and canceled my services. Her website was down. Her client database, stored on my server, was inaccessible. The premium software subscriptions I'd been paying for? Expired. You've sabotaged my business. I have presentations this week. Client deliverables. You need to fix this immediately or I'll sue. I didn't respond. Not my circus anymore, but apparently I should have seen what was coming next. Update 1. The entitlement escalation has been something else. After I didn't respond to her emergency, Veronica did what any reasonable person would do. She showed up at my office Wednesday morning with a laptop and a list of demands. Security called me. There's a woman here, says she needs IT support from you. I came down to find Veronica in the lobby, laptop open, talking loudly on her phone about critical infrastructure failures and professional sabotage. Ma'am, security was saying you need authorization to be here. She saw me. Finally, I have a client presentation in 2 hours and nothing works. That sounds like a you problem. Don't be petty, just fix it and we can talk about us later. There is no us, and I'm not your IT department. She actually stomped her foot like a toddler. You know I need that server access. My whole business runs on it. Should have thought about that before humiliating me in front of my boss. I was building your reputation, making you seem more collaborative. Security stepped in. Sir, should we escort her out? Please. The things she screamed while being escorted out weren't professional. Something about owing her, about destroying her life, about how I'd regret this. Thursday, the real fun started. Got a call from my mom. Veronica had reached out to her, told her I'd had a mental breakdown, and abandoned her without warning, leaving her unable to work or pay rent. Mom's response was perfect. Good for him. That girl was a nightmare. Turns out, Veronica didn't know my family couldn't stand her. They'd been polite for my sake, but they saw what I was too blind to see. But she didn't stop there. She contacted my sister, who laughed and hung up, my college roommate, who told her to lose his number, my ex-girlfriend from 5 years ago, who texted me, "Dude, your ex is psycho." Friday, she escalated again, sent a formal-looking letter via email, not from a lawyer, she couldn't afford one, but formatted to look legal. Demand for restoration of services. Listed everything she wanted. Immediate restoration of server access. Payment for lost business, $15,000. Compensation for emotional distress, $10,000. Return of shared business equipment, my printer and router. A written apology for professional sabotage. The kicker, she claimed we had a verbal contract for IT services in exchange for business mentorship. Forwarded it to my lawyer friend, Damon. He laughed for 5 minutes straight. She wants you to pay her because you stopped providing free services after she publicly humiliated you? That's bold. Weekend was quiet, too quiet. Monday morning, I understood why. She'd gone nuclear, full scorched earth. Remember those client connections I'd introduced her to? She'd emailed them all, claimed I was mentally unstable and had stolen proprietary business data. Warned them not to work with me. One of those clients, Harrison Wells, my mentor, guy who got me my current job, he forwarded me her email with one line, "This your ex?" Called him immediately. He was laughing. "Kid, she sent this to 12 people. Know what they all have in common? They're your connections, not hers. She just burned every bridge you built for her." He was right. By noon, I'd gotten messages from every client she'd emailed. They were all variations of, "Is she okay? Thanks for the warning about her. We're terminating our contract with her immediately." She'd destroyed her own business, trying to destroy my reputation. But the best part came Tuesday. Remember how she insisted the apartment lease be in her name only? "I need to build my own credit," she'd said. "You understand, right, baby?" Yeah, about that. Got a text from an unknown number. Her best friend, Sienna. "Are you seriously gonna let her get evicted?" Evicted? Turns out Veronica hadn't paid rent in 2 months. She'd been using the money I gave her for our half for other things. Probably those designer bags she kept buying. Without my half, which I'd been giving her in cash like an idiot, she couldn't cover it. Without her business income, which died when she emailed those clients, she was broke. Her solution? Demanding I pay what I owe for breaking our living arrangement. Sienna sent me screenshots of their conversation. Veronica was convinced she could force me to pay because he can't just abandon shared responsibilities. Except it wasn't shared. Lease was in her name. I was never on it. I have text messages of her insisting on this arrangement. Wednesday, yesterday, got another workplace visit. Not Veronica this time, her mother, Diane. Diane's a piece of work, thinks her daughter walks on water. Marched up to reception demanding to speak to me about the situation. I agreed to meet her in the lobby. Public place, cameras everywhere. How could you do this to my daughter? Do what, exactly? Leave her homeless. Destroy her business. She's having anxiety attacks. She humiliated me in front of my boss and colleagues. I left. Everything else is consequences of her own choices. She was trying to help you. Make you seem important. By calling me stupid? She never said that. I pulled out my phone. See, one of my colleagues, Maria, had recorded part of the dinner. Not maliciously. She was getting video of Jerome's speech for the company newsletter. But she caught Veronica's performance in the background. Played it for Diane. Her face went through several stages of grief. Well, she didn't mean it like that. How else could I have to explain things 4 times before he gets it mean? Diane tried another angle. She's going to be evicted. You have to help. No, I don't. She wanted that lease in her name only. She's a strong, independent consultant who doesn't need a man, remember? Her words. But she needs you. Should have thought of that before treating me like an incompetent child in public. Diane left, but not before muttering about sensitive males and fragile egos. Last night, around 10 p.m., got one final text from that unknown number. Different one this time. Hey man, this is Jake from V's building. She gave me your number, says you have her spare key. She's locked out and the super won't help because of the eviction notice. Can you bring it by? Nice try. I never had a spare key because the lease was in her name only, remember? She wouldn't give me one. I trust you, baby. But I need my independence. Didn't respond. This morning checked LinkedIn. She'd updated her profile. Now lists herself as independent consultant, rebuilding after domestic sabotage. Domestic sabotage because I took my own router. The entitlement is staggering. She really believed she could publicly humiliate me, and I'd continue being her combination, IT department, bank, and ego booster. We'll update if more happens. But honestly, I'm just enjoying the peace. Terrence and I are having a gaming tournament this weekend. Haven't done that in 2 years because Veronica thought video games were childish. Turns out, I'm smart enough to know when I'm happy. Final update. This is probably my last update because the situation has resolved itself in the most karmic way possible. After the LinkedIn domestic sabotage nonsense, things got progressively more unhinged. Veronica created a whole narrative where she was the victim of an abusive tech bro who used financial control to destroy a woman's career. She started a blog, Surviving Economic Abuse, My Story. In it, she claimed I'd trapped her by making her business dependent on my infrastructure. I'd isolated her from professional contacts, the ones I introduced her to. I'd gaslit her into believing she needed my help. I'd strategically abandoned her to cause maximum damage. The comments were interesting. Most people smelled BS, but she had a few supporters who'd clearly only heard her version. Then she made a crucial mistake. She posted screenshots of our text conversations as evidence of my controlling behavior, including ones where she insisted on keeping the lease in her name only. She asked me to introduce her to my professional contacts. She demanded I pay for various software subscriptions because it's for our future. She told me not to attend certain networking events because I'd embarrass her with your social awkwardness. She thought these proved her point. Instead, they showed the truth. Harrison Wells, my mentor, saw the blog. Called me laughing. She really posted evidence against herself? That's bold. But here's where it gets good. Remember how she torpedoed her business by emailing my contacts? Well, one of them, Patricia Hendricks, is a pretty big deal in our industry. She runs a consulting firm with about 200 employees. Patricia was not amused by Veronica's email about me being mentally unstable. Even less amused when she saw the blog post claiming I'd isolated Veronica from professional contacts because Patricia had emails, lots of them, where I'd introduced Veronica, vouched for her, praised her work, where I'd specifically asked Patricia to consider Veronica for projects. Patricia doesn't suffer fools. She commented on the blog post, professionally destroyed every claim with receipts. Ended with, Miss V, you've publicly admitted to using your partner's resources while simultaneously demeaning his intelligence. You've shown evidence of financial exploitation while claiming to be exploited. I recommend removing this defamatory content before actual legal consequences follow. The blog went private within hours, then disappeared entirely. But Veronica wasn't done. She had one last play. She applied to my company for a position in my department, listed me as a reference. The ball's on this woman. HR called me, very confused. Did you actually agree to be a reference for your ex-girlfriend who tried to file a harassment complaint against you? I absolutely did not. Turns out she'd not only listed me as a reference, but claimed we'd collaborated on multiple successful projects, and that I could attest to her strategic thinking and problem-solving abilities. HR's response was basically, yeah, no, but she'd applied to other companies too, and listed my colleagues as references, without asking any of them. Maria texted me, your ex just put me down as a reference. The audacity. Jerome was less amused. I got a call about Miss V, told them about the dinner party. They thanked me for the honest assessment. She'd basically blacklisted herself from our entire industry in a 2-week span. The eviction situation resolved itself too. She'd tried to fight it, claiming economic hardship due to domestic sabotage. The court wasn't impressed, especially when the landlord's lawyer pointed out she hadn't paid rent in 3 months, not 2. Predating our breakup, she'd been using my money for other things the whole time. Last I heard through the grapevine, she'd moved back with her parents. Put out a Facebook post about starting fresh after escaping a toxic situation and learning to trust again after financial abuse. Her mom, Diane, commented, "So proud of you for surviving." My mom saw it and commented, "Surviving what? Taking responsibility?" Diane blocked my mom. Mom thinks it's hilarious. The best part? Last week, I got a promotion. The Patterson project I'd led was such a success that they created a new position just for me. Senior Solutions Architect came with a 40% raise. Jerome made a point of announcing it at the company meeting. This promotion is entirely merit-based. No one helped him. No one held his hand. He earned this through intelligence, innovation, and hard work. Pretty sure that was a dig at Veronica's dinner party performance. So where are we now? I'm in my new office. Yes, I got an actual office. Still living with Terrence, but looking at my own place soon. The raise makes that very feasible. Veronica is living with her parents, no business, no references, and a reputation in our industry as that woman who tried to destroy her ex and destroyed herself instead. She still occasionally tries to contact me through random numbers. The last message was about how I owe her for all the emotional labor she did in our relationship. I don't respond, just screenshot and save. Damon, lawyer friend, says I have enough for a restraining order if needed, but honestly, she's not worth the paperwork. The funniest part? She's apparently telling people she escaped from me, that she's rebuilding after abuse. Meanwhile, everyone who actually knows us knows the truth. She publicly humiliated me. I left and she imploded when she realized I was the one holding her life together. The lesson? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. When Veronica called me stupid in front of my boss, she showed me exactly what she thought of me. A useful idiot, a resource to exploit. Turns out I'm smart enough to see that now. Smart enough to leave. Smart enough to let her face the consequences of her choices. And definitely smart enough to never ever date someone who thinks public humiliation is helping my image. Thanks for following this weird journey. Gonna go enjoy my new office and my drama-free life. Peace out.